just talking to Alex Jones via phone. He was breaking down what is going on at our borders. Well, it is the collapse of America. We had David Petraeus saying famously a couple of weeks ago in London, what comes after America? That's easy. North America. He broke it down. It's all about NAFTA. And, of course, Jerome Corsi has picked this up at WorldNet Daily. We're going to have him on in the third hour of the show to break that down. But one of the places where this has come to a head, of course, is in Murrieta, California. This is where the population came out and said, enough. If you're not going to protect the borders, if you're not going to stand by the law, we're going to show up and stop this importation of people. They're bringing in 140 people every 72 hours. That's the plan. So they showed up and they've stopped this now. I believe it's 3 times. We have sent InfoWars reporters there. We're going to be going to them in just a second. But, of course, Obama is telling the local area ICE agents, that's immigration control is what they say, or immigration and customs enforcement, that's what they say it's about, but of course it's not about that at all. He's now told them to stand down. What's going on with that? Well, of course it is part of a Cloward and Piven strategy. Obama is incentivizing this massive immigration here, and this is part of it. This is a hotspot in Murrieta. Everybody is looking at this to see what is going on. Is the government going to come against the American citizens, or are they going to support what they believe, as John Bound has put it, the illegal citizens, because they are treating them as if they are citizens? Let's go to Jakari Jackson in Murrieta, California. Jakari.
Hey, how you doing, David? We're out here in Murrieta, California, right in front of the Border Patrol base here in this location. Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs, Kit Daniels, and our cameraman Josh. We're out here trying to document the illegal immigration influx into the United States of America. Now out here, we see Fox News is out here. We saw CNN at our hotel earlier today. And so people are interested in this story, but they want to tell it their own way. They want to say it's the humanitarian crisis. It's all these children, and everything's for the children. And of course, we want these children to have good education, safety, health care, and so forth. But, you know, to use this analogy, let's say you have a boat and your boat only holds about 10 people, but then you open up your borders or open up your boat and now you got 20 people, now you got 30 people, now you got 50 people, and the boat is sinking to the bottom. And that's exactly what's happening here in the United States of America. It's not that we don't want these people to have, you know, all the things that I just mentioned. We just can't really support all these people, because you think about San Bernardino, California, the county, and they had back in 2009 about $60 million allocated to welfare resources for illegal immigrants. And that's not even counting about their own people, their own legal people, because you talk about the veterans who are not getting the health care and all the other things.
Well,
but
now,
David, I want to...
Jakari, we just reported on Infowars.com that the White House is now asking for $3.8 billion for the children. The children
of the border. $2 billion wasn't enough, David, because you remember it was $2 billion.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, that's not enough. So let's bump it up to $3+ billion. But
and
David,
that's just right now while they're at the border. It's going to get much more expensive as we educate them. And, of course, they're going to get benefits that far exceed what American citizens and American taxpayers have been given. They're going to be able to get in-state tuition at any state they want to go to, not just at a state where they've been paying taxes. They're going to be able to get it anywhere and be able to get full-ride tuition. Of course, American students will have to go into debt to become indentured servants to the banks, to the government, if they want to get a college education. But these people can just come in, and the Dreamers will get it. And, of course, the Dreamers includes anybody who's coming in now. I think that's really what's changed. This was put in, the DREAM Act was put in about 2 years ago. But what they've made it clear is that this is not going to be retroactive, but it's going to be proactive to anyone who wants to come in now or in the future is going to get this massive benefit. So it's an enticement, and he's actually endangering children.
That's a benefit that we don't get. Myself being a Oklahoma resident or from Oklahoma, I go down to Texas, I don't get in-state tuition. So, but people from El Salvador, people from Mexico, they can come and get the benefits that I can't. I mean, that doesn't seem fair to me. And, you know, when it comes down to brass tacks, you know, who's ultimately going to pay for all this in-state tuition? You know, Obama's not opening up his private bank account to fund all this stuff. It's going to come from taxpayers, people like you and me, people in San Bernardino, California. But, David, we have the article on Infowars.com, Paul Joseph Watson news article, and he's talking about how the ICE agents are being told to stand down from Obama. Yes. And I can absolutely believe that, because we've seen the Border Patrol and with our own eyes in the state of Texas. I wouldn't so much say the people we talked to said they were so much ordered to stand down, but they're definitely not doing a adequate job.
Well,
because
these guys,
you go to the border,
these guys in Marietta, Jakari, have been told that they're on temporary leave with full benefits, so they're still paying them. They just say they don't want them to do anything. I mean, you couldn't be more obvious as a collapse.
Vacation.
Yeah,
it's a paid vacation. But when we go to the border, David, in Texas, you know, you go to the Border Patrol and they want to check you, like, are you an American citizen? They want to bring the dog out and sniff your car. I'm like, well, you guys know where the illegal immigrants are. They know where the illegal immigrants are in Texas. They know where they are in California, but they want to harass you, the American citizen. You know, it's like, can I get the same benefits as everybody else, or as these illegal immigrants? They're treating illegal immigrants better than the United States of America than they're treating people like me, treating people like Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs, who has to wait 2 months to get an appointment at the VA for internal injuries and stuff. It's completely ridiculous.
Yeah, I want to get Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs' take on it. Thanks, Jakari. We're going to come back to you later in the show. But, you know, talking about the VA, this is another article that just came up on InfoWars yesterday. Long wait times in California emergency rooms are blamed on Obamacare. Well, what's going to happen when all these people that Obama is bringing in go on to Obamacare, go into the emergency room? What's going to happen with that? Well, of course, that's part of the Cloward and Piven strategy, to collapse the country with a welfare state. Now, they're trying to say that this is about compassion, and yet we see that Obama is incentivizing these children to come across. We know that in Dallas, they're trying to preemptively stop what happened in Marietta, where our InfoWars reporters are in California. They don't want people there protesting the immigration influx that's going to be brought in and staged in that area. So we had a judge that was going door to door, threatening people, saying, well, you know, of course, you've got free speech, but you better obey the law. And part of that interview, and that was a story that was put up by the mainstream media up in Dallas, they had a quote from a guy who said, hey, you're a grown-up, don't protest a kid. This is not about protecting kids. This is about endangering children. Obama is incentivizing this. When you have a congressman like Bridenstine in Oklahoma go to the facility to see what's going on, to see if there's child trafficking going on, that's a legitimate question. How do very young, unaccompanied minors get all the way across a continent from Central and South America to the United States? How do they do that? How do they get across the desert? Where are they going? Who are they being turned into? The congressman has had experience with child trafficking. A lot of these children are dying. They're getting raped. They're being turned over into child trafficking. He wanted to see what was going on, but he was sent away. Now, also in Marietta, we have Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs. Staff Sergeant, what do you see there? Hello. I don't guess we've got him just yet. Hello? One of the things that we're seeing is that there's an immigration crisis. There we go. There's Joe Biggs. Go ahead, Joe.
Hey, how you doing, David?
Doing fine. What do you see there, Joe, on Marietta?
Well, one thing I see is a group of people, a town, come together and stand up and say, you know what? Enough is enough. You're not going to bankrupt our town, bringing these alien children into our town whatsoever. I mean, it's a beautiful thing to see Americans and patriots come out here and stand up for something like that. But, you know, the funny thing is, though, they're going to be the ones that are called terrorists. Meanwhile, last night on the pro-amnesty side, there's gangbangers out here. And yesterday they have Raza out here. One of the Mexican-American anti-immigration guys I talked to last night, Mr. Garza, he said that, you know, Raza is indeed the Mexican KKK, and they want no part of that.
Yeah.
So, you know,
well, they actually call themselves the race. So, I mean, you couldn't be more explicitly racist than that. And, of course, we have many comments from them on Endgame. We played some of that last night on the Nightly News, part of that documentary that Alex did, I think it was 7 years ago, where they were making blatantly racist statements. They called their organization the race. I don't know how you get any more racist than that.
Exactly. You know, the people that I encountered last night on the anti-immigration side were very welcoming, and, you know, they were just pretty much peaceful. They just didn't want all these people being dropped off into their city, you know, because what I was told is this facility right here is really only able to process up to about 20 kids at a time, and then they have to release them. But these buses are bringing 100+ kids at a time. So what are they going to do with all those children? That's one of the big questions. And then also you have the riots in LA right now going on for the pro-amnesty people. You know, they're the ones that seem more like terrorists out of this entire situation. They're the ones talking about the hearts and minds of these kids, but they're the ones that have been getting violent. They're the ones that have been, you know, getting arrested as well.
Well, you know, they like to talk about sustainability. We always hear that from the left. Well, one of the aspects of that is population. You know, Nancy Pelosi said she would just like to take all of these children that she saw home with her. Well, there's a practical reason why she can't do that. There's a practical reason why America can't take all of the children of the world either. And that's sustainability. You just can't sustain it any more than one person could adopt 100 kids. You don't have the economic resources for that. One of the things that they're ignoring is what they're doing to collapse those economies in Central and South America, and that's the drug war. That's what they're doing in those countries. But now they're opening up the borders, and the question is, are they going to have some kind of a false flag? Is it going to be some kind of a suitcase nuke? Is it going to be a population bomb? Is it going to be a pandemic? Maybe it's going to be all three of those, but it looks like they're going to try to collapse the country, whether they can do it with welfare. And, of course, the right wing is also saying, let's jump in there. This is an existential threat. We've got a general saying we need to send the military to the border. How do you feel about that, Joe, sending the military to the border?
I don't think that's a good idea, because all that's going to do is escalate everything. People that, Americans are going to feel like they're being threatened. It's going to look like martial law when something like that happens. It's okay if they send a little bit of the National Guard, so to say, to help on the, the paper side, to do things like that. But really, we need to get these Border Patrol back out there doing their job on the border securing, because in that recent report, we found out that a lot of people other than just, Central Americans are coming across the border.
Yes.
Iranians, people with Hezbollah, contacts, things like that. That's scary. That's a huge issue. We just have people like that able to slip through our cracks and into the country. And it is indeed a chance that a false flag could happen.
You said it would look a little bit like martial law. Actually, that's what they've been wargaming for quite some time. If you go all the way back to Oliver North's Rex 84, they're talking about conditions that they could enact martial law with through FEMA and other ways of doing that. If they put enough military on the border to effectively seal it off, it will be martial law. And, Joe, I'm always amazed that men in power will make two mistakes rather than admit to one. When they incentivize these people to come in, when they say, go ahead and come in, we'll give you all the free benefits, we'll give you free health care, we'll give you everything for free, they're incentivizing it. And, of course, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and other business leaders are pushing that as well, just like they pushed Obamacare. When they incentivize that, and then at the same time, we now have some of the Democrats as well as Republicans joining with this general and saying, that's right, we need the military at the border. We need to essentially create martial law. That is a very worrying thing for me. They could create some kind of a, turn America into a roach motel where you can get into it, but you can't get out. I don't want to see that.
Once they got out here and set up, all it takes is one little incident to spark, and next thing you know, they're permanently here. We got tanks rolling up and down the street every day, and there's curfews not only for kids like they have, but it'll be for everyone. I mean, this is a huge issue right now, and the Obama administration has completely orchestrated this.
Yes, and I think we need to look at this narrative that they've always used of children and saying that, don't worry, everything is just fine. We hear all these reports from NPR and other mainstream media that, don't worry, we've got children in these places, but there's not really any health concerns. Meanwhile, we see that ICE agents are getting scabies, and now we have reports of tuberculosis spreading at campuses. This is a report from Fox News, Todd Starnes, and he says that HHS thinks that the children coming across are just fine, but he's talked to some people who say that he's got children there showing classic signs of tuberculosis, spitting up blood, constant cough, and chest pain. This is being reported to him by nurses, and they said more than 7,000 children have been processed through 2 camps. And, of course, one of these they're talking about is Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, where you've been a couple of times to try to get reports.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge issue. I mean, the fact that, the CDC and people like that are ignoring a lot of these issues, it's just mind-blowing that our country is coming into this. I want to show you one thing real quick. Look at this over here. We're right now, since there's no one out here, this is where the pro-amnesty area is. As you can see, Fox News is set up over here. They want to make sure that America sees the children, the little hearts and minds and things like that. That's the whole game they're trying to play. They're not trying to get to the real issue that this is going to hurt this small town here in Marietta. The good people of this town, they're worried about going bankrupt and losing everything over this, and they're not going to take it anymore.
Well, it's not just there. We've also seen that for quite some time, this has been bankrupting people in Texas. And I think that's part of the problem, Joe. People don't realize, because this has been trickling for quite some time, they don't realize that the dam is essentially bursting. They've seen a dam that has developed a couple of leaks, and the leaks have gotten bigger. But this is a dam that is actually burst right now, and people can't get that into their minds. They don't really see the difference with it. The only thing that the public is being told by the mainstream media is now that the only difference is we've got all these very young children coming in. But that's not the case, is it?
Yeah, I mean, all they show, whenever you go to any site, any mainstream site, you just see a bunch of kids laying on the ground. That first initial process when they go through, they don't ever talk about what happens after that. You know, how 90% of them don't even show up to come to court like they're supposed to, and how they're just being dropped into our country. You know, this is a huge issue right now. I mean, this is one of the biggest things going on right now, and our president won't even come out here and talk to it, talk to anybody about this. And I was talking to some of the pro-amnesty people last night. I mean, they were even peed off at the fact that the president wouldn't even come down here and acknowledge the situation whatsoever. I mean, he's too busy playing golf every day. Yeah,
exactly. And, of course, he's spending massive amounts in warfare, trying to start wars everywhere across the world. And one of the biggest wars that is really precipitating all this is the war on drugs. Have you heard anything from people there in terms of stepped-up violence or people that are coming in that are part of the drug gangs? Or is this facility just having children shipped in?
Yeah, they're just having the children shipped in. I haven't heard anything about that. But right now, kind of as we're speaking, it's starting to build up a lot more. Throughout the day, I'm expecting a lot more people to be coming through here. So we'll definitely be able to ask that question and find out.
From the water table to our soils to the atmosphere itself, our world is becoming more and more toxic each and every day. But it's not just the air outside that's toxic. Indoor air has been shown to have 2 to 5 times higher concentrations of pollutants than even outdoor air. And most Americans spend 90% of their time inside using toxic chemicals within their homes. There are more than 42 million smokers in the United States. Well over 1,000 types of mold and mildew linked to numerous conditions. And don't forget the fact that 6 million Americans live with pets they're allergic to as well. When I began to research these statistics, it was clear to me it was time to start cleansing my lungs in order to combat the toxic environment that we cannot escape, but that we can fight back against. Made with organic and wild cultivated herbs and manufactured in the USA, the new InfoWars Life Lung Cleanse is here in a convenient spray bottle that can be brought with you throughout any toxic environment. Now available exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.
Hey, now you can watch The Alex Jones Show live as it happens at Infowars.com/show.
And I'm talking to Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs in Murrieta, California. This is where there's been a pushback by the citizens of that area against the massive influx of people that are being brought in by the Obama administration. Now, of course, the mainstream media is trying to carefully control this narrative to make it about compassion, to make it about children, and to say that anybody who speaks out against this is against children, is racist. And yet, many of us know that this is about a Cloward and Piven strategy to take down this country, to collapse the borders, to collapse the economy. This goes back to the 1960s. Cloward and Piven, very well-known sociologists by people who look and study politics. And, of course, it's not just us that's saying this. We've even got congressmen who are pointing this out. Stephen King out of Iowa told WorldNet Daily, if you don't see them bring reinforcements down there to seal the border, that means that, yes, it is a Cloward and Piven maneuver to flood the country until we get to the point where we are an open borders country that welcomes everybody, legal and illegal. That quote is in an article up on Infowars.com from Paul Joseph Watson that says that Obama is giving the Murrieta area ICE agents, that's the Immigration and Customs Enforcement people, a temporary paid leave. He doesn't want immigration enforced. He's sending them away. Says, go home. We'll continue to pay you. Just don't enforce the borders. It is clear that's what's going on. So InfoWars has sent reporters out. Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs we're talking to in this hour. We're going to also be talking to Jakari Jackson in the next hour. Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs, we're trying to get the information out that the mainstream media is not covering. They're trying to make this all about the children and about racism, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Once again, I'm out here at the U.S. Border Patrol Center in Murrieta. Joe Biggs here. I just wanted to let you know that, I spoke to one of the gentlemen last night on the pro-amnesty side, and I asked him, I was like, sir, do you think we should have borders? And he goes, no, we should have zero borders out here. That kind of mindset is just mind-blowing to me. I don't get that at all. And then I said, well, don't you think it's kind of crazy that, there's a right way and there's a wrong way to go through this entire immigration process? People join the military to get their citizenship, things like that. I've had friends die going through that process to try to become an American the right way. And he said, no, he's like, we don't need any kind of immigration process, no naturalization, just let everybody in. So that's what the pro-amnesty side is all about, opening the borders, taking them down, and just let everybody roll in here.
Joe, they don't do that in any other country of the world. They don't do that in Mexico. They don't do that in Honduras or Guatemala. They don't do that anywhere else in the world. And for somebody to say that, that's essentially like saying, I don't think you should have any locks on your doors. I should just be able to move into your house, and you should have to support me. That's essentially what he's saying.
Having these fences is completely racist, apparently, and, true Americans are terrorists. That's the country we live in nowadays, David.
Well, we're going to be talking to Dr. Jerome Corsi because, quite frankly, this fellow that you talked to last night who doesn't believe that we should have any borders, he's agreed with by General Petraeus as well as Nancy Pelosi. They have both said the same thing. Nancy Pelosi said, we just have one large community, north and south. We just happen to have a border running through it. But for her, the border running between different countries makes no more difference than the border, say, running between Texas and Oklahoma. They want to treat it the same way because to her and to David Petraeus, they believe that we are now a unified country, and so we need to just bring those people in to essentially make that effective. That's what David Petraeus said. He said, what comes after America? Well, that's easy. It's North America. We've had NAFTA for 20 years. Now we're seeing that happen. We're seeing that as an established fact. Thank you, Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs. We're going to be back in the next hour with Jakari Jackson, also in Murrieta, California, covering what is happening there.
Alex Jones here to break down some exciting developments in the area of research concerning supplemental iodine. It's nothing less than phenomenal. I began to get into iodine a few years ago because it was helping me and my family so much get healthy and detoxify. And I used some of the mainline iodine supplements and they upset my stomach and I had some issues with it. Until I discovered a product being developed by Dr. Group, who I was already interviewing as an expert on my radio show, and I began taking the product before he actually rolled it out. You now know it as Survival Shield True Nascent Iodine that your body can really absorb. Then, about a year ago, he said, listen, if you think this is powerful, I'm going to come out with rare earth, deep earth crystals that are incredibly powerful that no one else has as a source for their iodine from between 7,000 and 12,000 feet, literally drilled out of the ground. You put it on a hot plate and it turns into the pure gas. No one else has 99.99% pure iodine. And the results that I personally have had have been life-changing. I was over 270 pounds. And with the iodine, exercise, and better diet, I have lost now more than 50 pounds total, and I'm continuing to lose the weight. I have more energy, my libido, all this crap came out of my skin. I believe our research is conclusive. This is the best iodine out there. And I know this for a fact. Nobody else has got iodine based on these pure crystals, ladies and gentlemen. This is innovating. This is trailblazing. And the best part is it helps fund Infowars.com, the radio show, the TV show, the whole media operation promoting true libertarian ideas. For a limited time, experience the ancient power of Survival Shield X2. Take advantage of this unprecedented 30% off Super Detox Special at InfoWarsLife.com.